Okay, AI. It's everywhere, right? Headlines, debates. I bet it's even popping up at work more than you realize.
It feels like everyone's either like buzzing about AI being the future or totally freaking out that their job is going to be gone next week.
Totally. So today, we're ditching the hype. We went straight to the source, a new report from the New York Fed, but they didn't just, make predictions. They talked to businesses, like real companies, manufacturing, services, you name it.
Yeah, getting the inside scoop on what's actually happening with AI right now, plus what these businesses are thinking about for the near future.
Exactly. So buckle up. This isn't some sci-fi robot takeover story. This is about understanding what's really going on so you can adapt, whether you're like running a team, updating your resume, or just can't get enough of this AI stuff.
And one thing that really struck me about this report is it kind of busts some myths right away.
Oh, like what?
Well, you know how everyone's saying businesses are using AI like crazy, especially in service industries.
Right, like every company's about to be run by algorithms.
Exactly. But it's not quite the robot revolution everyone's expecting. At least not yet.
Yeah, when I first saw this report, I was picturing like a scene out of Terminator or something.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's way more subtle than that.
Yeah.
Think of it this way. Instead of AI replacing entire jobs, it's usually more about AI taking over specific tasks within those jobs.
Okay, so more like AI assistants.
Exactly. Like, take marketing analytics, for example.
Yeah.
AI tools can now analyze like tons of data about consumer behavior way faster than a human ever could. We're talking predicting trends, figuring out the best ways to target ads, even writing ad copy, and all with minimal human input.
So it's less robots are stealing our jobs and more like robots are doing the parts we don't want to do anyway.
Pretty much. But then that brings up another question, right?
Yeah.
If companies are handing over all these tasks to AI, what happens to the people who used to do them?
Right, because someone was doing that work before. So what does happen to them?
That's the million-dollar question. And you know what? The report actually gives a surprisingly optimistic answer.
Oh.
Let's hear it. Turns out most businesses would rather retrain their current employees to work alongside AI than just like show them the door and replace them entirely.
Really? So instead of mass layoffs, we might actually see companies investing in their employees to like level up their skills.
That seems to be the trend. And the numbers are pretty convincing. 53%, that's over half of the service businesses they surveyed, said they're planning to put serious money into retraining their staff.
Wow, that's huge. So companies are really starting to see the value in like human experience, even with all this advanced AI floating around.
Absolutely. They're realizing that even with fancy algorithms, there's no substitute for human intuition, creativity, that ability to adapt on the fly that AI just hasn't quite mastered yet.
That makes sense. You've already got people who understand your company culture, your clients, all those little details that AI might miss. But what about the actual skills themselves? Like, what does retraining for an AI-powered workplace even look like?
It's interesting. It's less about, like, everyone needing to become a coding whiz overnight.
Oh, good, because that was not in my 5-year plan.
Right. It's more about focusing on those uniquely human skills that are really tough to automate. Critical thinking, complex problem solving, those aha moments that AI just can't replicate yet, at least.
So it's less about competing against AI and more about figuring out how to work with it, right? Kind of like becoming fluent in AI, learning how to guide it and use it to achieve what you want.
Exactly. Think of it like this. Imagine you've got like an AI tool that can generate 100 different marketing taglines in like 5 seconds. Pretty impressive.
Oh, yeah. Definitely not something I could pull off, at least not that quickly.
Exactly. But then you need someone, a human, with a good sense of the brand, the target audience, and like a little creative flair to look at those 100 taglines and say, okay, that's the one that's really going to resonate. They're bringing that extra level of judgment and insight that AI just doesn't have yet.
So the AI is like the idea machine and the human is the editor, the curator, making sure it all comes together.
Exactly. And it's not just about existing jobs changing either. The report also found that a lot of companies, both in service industries and manufacturing, are expecting to create entirely new jobs specifically for humans to work alongside AI.
Wait, really? AI could lead to more jobs? That's not what you usually hear. Most people are worried about robots taking away jobs.
Right. It's a pretty counterintuitive idea. But yeah, the report suggests that these new roles might not even require like a college degree, which is a really big deal.
Oh, wow. Okay, so this could be a game changer, especially with so many people worried that AI is only going to benefit the college grads, the tech people. It sounds like it could open up opportunities for a lot of people who maybe haven't gone the traditional education route.
Exactly. There's a lot of talk about like digital blue collar jobs emerging. Like, think about it. Someone's got to train all these AI systems, right?
Yeah.
Someone's got to feed them data, teach them how to recognize patterns, basically, like show them the ropes.
So you'd have like AI trainers. Is that an actual job title yet?
It's definitely a growing field. And then there's like data annotation, which is basically making sure all the information the AI needs is labeled correctly so it can actually make sense of it all. These are jobs that require a human touch. Being able to understand context, make judgment calls, think about the ethical implications. Those are things AI is not so great at least not on its own.
That's amazing. It really flips the script on this whole robots are coming for our jobs narrative. If anything, it seems like AI could create a whole bunch of new jobs that didn't even exist a few years ago.
It's a really exciting prospect, especially for people who might not have considered themselves tech people before. This could be a whole new pathway into a really interesting and well-paying career.
Okay, but let's be real for a second. What about the whole money thing? Like, if companies are using AI to automate tasks and, theoretically save money, does that mean those of us who keep our jobs are going to get a raise? Or are we looking at like a future of stagnant wages where the only ones getting rich are the people who own the AI?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
And honestly, this report doesn't exactly give us a straight answer. What it does say is that most businesses, at least for the time being, aren't planning any major salary shakeups because of AI.
So it's kind of up in the air right now.
Kinda, yeah. But there's an interesting tidbit in the report of the companies that did say they were expecting some changes to their payroll because of AI. Most of them said they were leaning towards paying their employees more, not less. And this was especially true for companies that had a lot of highly educated workers.
Interesting. So maybe there's hope for a future where AI actually helps boost wages, at least for some people.
It's definitely a possibility. But it also highlights this other issue, right? Like, what happens to the people who don't have those fancy degrees? Does the gap between the haves and the have-nots just keep getting wider?
Okay, so maybe it's not all sunshine and roses. Sounds like there are some pretty big questions about how we make sure everyone benefits from this AI revolution, not just a select few.
Absolutely. And that's where, the human element comes back into play.
Yeah, we can't just throw technology at the problem and hope for the best. We've got to be smart about how we integrate AI into society so it benefits everyone, not just a select few.
It's not enough to just react to whatever's happening with AI, We have to be proactive.
Okay, but how do we actually do that? It's easy to feel kind of powerless in all of this. Like, things are moving so fast. How can we, regular people, actually influence what's happening?
I know what you mean. It can feel overwhelming for sure. But I really do think our individual choices make a difference. Like, we can all stay informed about what's happening with AI, right?
Yeah, don't just scroll past those headlines. Actually click and read them, right?
Exactly. And we can support policies that promote things like lifelong learning, making it easier for people to adapt to new jobs and industries. And, you've got to make sure everyone benefits from the gains made possible by AI. We can't just let the wealth get concentrated at the top.
Absolutely. And we can all be more aware of the ethical implications of all this. Like, are we building AI systems that are fair, that reflect our values? Those are questions we all need to be asking.
Exactly. It all comes back to this idea. This isn't just a tech revolution. It's a societal one. And we're all in this together, whether we like it or not.
Truth. Okay, so to bring this back to where we started, that New York Fed report,
Yeah.
it's pretty fascinating how it kind of throws everything we thought we knew about AI and jobs out the window.
It really does.
Yeah.
And what's funny? We started off talking about the impact of AI on the job market. And now we're basically talking about the future of work itself.
I know, right? That's how deep this rabbit hole goes. But that's what I love about these deep dives. We start with something concrete, like a report, but then we end up exploring these huge, mind-blowing questions.
It's been a blast, really. I always love digging into this stuff with you.
Me too.
Yeah.
And hopefully our listeners are feeling a little more empowered, not just to survive the future of work, but to actually shape it. So a huge thank you to our expert for joining us today. Your insights are always so valuable. And to our amazing listeners, thank you for joining us on this wild ride. But remember, the conversation doesn't end here. Keep learning, stay curious, and most importantly, stay engaged. We're all creating the future together.